Hello and welcome. My name's Mark Williams and I'm the subject lead for PGCE History here at Cardiff Metropolitan University. Now in this session I'm going to take you through a brief introduction to the course. Now this covers history, geography and RVE. First of all, I'd like to say welcome to the PGCE course. It's lovely to have you here. Now in the session today, as I said, we're going to provide you with a very brief overview of the course. Now although I say it's brief, this will be an information overload, so please take time to go back over this at your leisure. Hopefully though, by the end of the session today, you'll have an idea of the way in which the course is divided up and your key responsibilities and rights as a training teacher. Now table 1 here shows the way the course is divided up. You can see that we have 3 modules. 2 of these are practical. These are the teaching placements where you'll be in school working with young people. We now call them clinical practice rather than placements, as the course is much more in line with clinical programs in the sense that your learning and workload is incremental. You'll notice that the assignments hold equal weighting too. In basic terms, you need to demonstrate that you're great in the classroom and that you have the academic understanding to be able to plan effectively to ensure your pupils achieve their best. When you first join your clinical practice school in October, you'll meet a number of key people who you'll work with on placement. Most important will probably be the senior mentor and mentor. And these are the people who will report back to the university tutors upon your progress. You'll need to attend 120 days of clinical practice in order to prove that you are sufficiently experienced to be classed as a qualified teacher. This number is extremely important. Consequently, you need to make sure you're in school unless it's absolutely impossible for you to attend. We don't have wellness days on the course or time away from the classroom unless it's an absolute necessity. There's some space at the end of the programme for people to catch up with missed days due to illness, and it's expected that they do so. But if you don't have the 120 days in the classroom, you can expect to have to continue the placement the following year. As a professional master's level course, this is very different to undergraduate studies. Now, attendance is vital at all times, on placement, at university sessions, and on school-led training days. Engagement in all activities is also vital. If we as tutors set a task, it's because we know it's beneficial to your development, and the same applies to work set by your mentors and senior mentors. We are all experienced classroom practitioners, and when we set a task, it does have a good reason. As you can see from the slide, you'll have opportunities to observe people teaching both within your own subject and within other areas. I would advise you take plenty of notes while doing this, as it's the best way for you to learn and develop your own professional identity as a teacher. Remember, it's unlikely you'll be teaching 100% within your own subject area when you're a paid qualified teacher, so experience of other subjects is a real bonus, and it's something that head teachers will look for when they're looking to appoint staff at interview. As you can see here, your clinical practice teaching timetable builds up throughout your practice. You slowly build up the hours you'll spend delivering lessons to young people. You have more time during CP1 for research and inquiry, and this is a luxury you won't have again in your teaching career, so please use this time wisely. Arrange to watch other people teach. Go into support in different subject areas. Spend time reading up on your subject area and within the other humanities, and make sure you're really familiar with Welsh Government documentation. Towards the end of CP2, there's the opportunity to attend a different kind of educational environment. Now this may be a primary school, a pupil referral unit, or even simply a different subject area within your school. Now, this opportunity will set you apart from other people at interview, where you'll be able to demonstrate a fuller, more rounded understanding of education within Wales. Now, one extremely important part of the course will be the school-led training days. Our clinical practice schools are grouped into a lead practice school and a number of partnership schools. For example, you may be placed in Caerleon Comprehensive for your first clinical practice. Caerleon is part of a group of schools led by Caldecott Comprehensive. Consequently, your second clinical practice will be within Caldecott, and the reverse if your first CP was there. Caldecott will provide 15 school-led training days. Now, these may be on site or they may be online. This is an opportunity for students from all schools within that group to work together upon a particular theme. So, for example, it may be methods to fully engage pupils in learning. In reality, this also means you'll be working with student teachers and staff who you don't normally come into contact with. It's vital you engage fully with the activities set on these days in order to pass the course and to develop your understanding. Remember as well, this is also a great opportunity to network with staff from other schools, and this is vital when you're looking for your first placement. Consequently, it's really important that you demonstrate 100% engagement and attendance on these days. Now, this is a pass or fail course. You won't get graded, and if you fail an assignment, there are structures in place to allow you to resit. Now, the same applies with placements. However, you will be supported throughout the course to try to ensure that this isn't necessary. Now, both assignments are marked at level 7, meaning that when you complete the PGCE course, you'll already have had 60 of the 180 credits needed to gain a master's level in education. Many of our students return to complete the 120 credits after a year or two in the classroom, as this is an excellent qualification to show your commitment to research-based learning. It's also a really useful qualification when you're looking for your first management role, perhaps as a head of department or a head of year. Now, in order to prove you're an effective teacher, you need to be measured against the professional standards for teaching and leadership. As you can see from this and the following slides, there's a significant number of them. Now, some we have highlighted in yellow, as these are critical or the most important standards that you need to show you're achieving during your early weeks of placement. Now, trainees are often a little thrown by the terminology used, so it's important that we spend some time unpicking what these actually mean. So let's have a look at our first standard. We have P1 Pedagogy, Managing the Learning Environment. Take a moment to read through that sentence. That's the description for this standard. Think in your head, how would I sum that up if I was telling somebody who had perhaps no background in teaching what this standard is all about? Now, you're probably thinking, well, I'd tell them it's something to do with making sure the environment within the classroom is a safe one, that children are learning effectively, that I'm managing the activities effectively, and that they're safe. We don't have children running around with scissors. We don't have children throwing chairs at one another. They're all sitting down, listening, paying attention, and leaving the classroom with a better understanding of the topic than when they first arrived. And that's basically it when we look at managing the learning environment. So spend some time over the next week or so going through these standards and thinking how you could put these into a different language. If we look at our third one there, assessment, the range of purposes and practices for assessment is understood and articulated. So really what we're looking at here is that you're assessing children in different ways. You're providing them with feedback during their daily lessons with you, and you're also providing them with feedback towards the end of a unit. And you're doing this in lots of different ways. It might be verbal feedback, it might be written feedback. There are lots of things that you could be doing. You could be encouraging pupils to assess their own work. You could be asking pupils to assess one another's work, so peer assessment. So it's being able to demonstrate that you understand that these are all different and important. Okay. Now here you can see we have some other examples that we've taken from the standards. Here we're looking at collaboration. Now this is really important because it shows that you've worked with other individuals within your school and perhaps other student teachers within your subject area. Because we don't work alone when we're in school. We're a group of people who all have one common goal, and that is to make sure that children experience the best possible education that they can. So you need to be able to show that you've collaborated and worked with colleagues, and you'll get a number of opportunities within the university setting to do this when we work across our subject areas within the humanities. Okay, you'll also see that we have innovation and leadership here. Developing new techniques. Now that's often a little bit frightening when students look at that. How on earth can I, going into a classroom after 2 weeks, come up with some brilliant new method or idea of how I'm going to teach these young people? Well, don't panic too much about this. What we're really looking for is that you take on board advice from your mentor and your senior mentor and the classroom teachers, and you try something new, something different within the classroom that perhaps you hadn't thought of before. It may be something as simple as just giving a group work activity to a group of pupils, rather than giving them a traditional task where they're working alone. Now, leadership is also really important here. And if you look at it, one of the first things we have here, well, in fact, it is the first thing, is taking responsibility for self. Now, one way in which you can show that you are taking responsibility for your own development is to make sure that your PLP is up to date and well populated. Now, PLP is a term that we haven't used before, but we will be looking at in a few moments' time. Now, with regard to the standards, we don't expect you to be the finished article by November. Your mentors will observe you teaching and discuss your progress with you and grade you using the following terms, the ones we have here on the slide. Today, many of you will be unaware in the standards that we've looked at. However, if you have some previous experience in the classroom, you may already be aware in these. There are some key points that we call caps throughout the year when your mentors report back to the university about your progress. The first of these requires you to be aware in the critical standards, the yellow ones that we've just discussed. Not everyone will be judged as aware, but that's not something to panic about. It may simply be you haven't had the opportunity to demonstrate an awareness in a particular standard, and your mentor will then make sure that this is provided in time for your next cap. By the end of June, we'll expect you to be capable in all of the standards, and in some cases, you may even be QTS+, meaning your work is so impressive that it should really be shared with other colleagues and other schools. Now, as I said, your Pebble Pad will need to be shared with your humanities subject tutors, myself, Rian or Paula, and also your university school link tutor and your personal tutor. So there are a number of people who will be looking at your work and providing you with guidance. Now, if you're still unsure what Pebble Pad is all about, and I can completely understand that it's a new term to most of you, I've put 3 links here for you to have a look at. Now, if you click on these 3 links, or you copy and paste these 3 links into your search engine, your web browser, you'll be able to have a look at a very brief outline of what Pebble Pad is all about. Now, here's an example.
Pebble Pad is used for all sorts of everything, and this flexibility can make it kind of hard to know how and where to start. So let me walk you through a linked up series of possible PebblePad uses. Let's imagine I've just finished a short course and I've been given a certificate for my efforts. It makes sense that it's uploaded to PebblePad as evidence. So I'm going to drag a certificate into that little field there. And what I'm going to do as well is tag that as a certificate so that in the future I can find all of my certificates. I'm also going to tag it as goals 17 because then I can find all of my goals together in the future. I confirm the upload and that file will now get added to my store in PebblePad. Now the certificate is evidence of having done a thing and possibly of having achieved a thing, but it doesn't necessarily record what I learned from a thing. So I'm going to head over to the resource store and I'm going to go to the PebblePad templates. And here are a series of generic templates designed to help you make better records. It doesn't really matter which one you use, but as you might imagine, the action plan is geared around planning to do a thing, whereas something like the ability record is more about making a record of a skill or talent you have.
Okay, so there you can see that PebblePad is used not just within the teaching organisations that we're going to be working in, but it's also being used in other areas. So there are an awful lot of videos that will guide you through this. Now later on in the term we will start using PebblePad and we'll give you some guidance on it, but I think it's a good idea if you can just to have an understanding of what it's all about. Just think of it as the folders that contain the evidence that you use to prove that you are an effective classroom teacher. Okay, right, here is the calendar. On the following slide as well, I'll show you the clinical practice outline. Now there are a number of key terms here that might sound a little bit strange to you. So let's have a look at these. Research champion. It sounds like a wonderful title. You expect to see someone with a cape meeting you at the classroom door, guiding you through. In fact, the research champion in your school will be very important. This will be an individual who will guide you through looking for different pieces of research, different articles, etc. that will help you write your assignments. They're the individuals in our lead practice schools who are responsible really for supporting you on placement throughout your research. Perhaps most importantly, they'll tell you the theme that you need to focus upon for your first assignment. So for example, if a school is particularly concerned about the underachievement of boys, this might be the focus for the students who are on placement there. And they will suggest staff to visit within the classroom so you can see who's able to support pupils particularly well, and they'll also be able to provide you with some literature that you should read or that they'll advise you to read. So if we look at this very, very briefly, you can see we have learning and teaching observation 1, 2, 3, going right down to 7. Now these are the formal forms that are filled in by your subject mentor in the classroom, outlining how your teaching is going on that particular lesson. You can also see that we have 4 progress review caps. Now these are completed again by your mentor, and these are submitted to the university, and these are overviews really of how you've been doing over the past few weeks within your teaching practice. You can also see that you have 2 assignment dates there, the writ assignment and the port or portfolio assignment for the course. And then right at the end, we have clinical practice 2 ending. Okay. This is another version of the document that you've just looked at, but it gives you an outline of when you'll be in school and when you'll be in university. So as you can see from this timetable, which is just for CP1, it's a very intensive course. You need to attend all university and school days unless it's absolutely impossible. Now, if you are unable to attend a university day, please make sure you email myself and the other staff who may be working with you that day. So for example, if you have a Welsh session, please make sure that you contact the Welsh tutor as well. If illness means that you have to miss a school day, then you must inform your mentor, your senior mentor, your university link tutor, and myself. Now, this is really important as we need to ensure you have 120 days on placement in order to pass the course. Please remember you're entering one of the most important professions, and your professional reputation can open or close doors for you. Both university tutors and mentors must comment upon attendance and professional attitude in references. Now, this is a particularly important slide for you. You need to think of this as a checklist with respect to many points. Possibly the most important point here is a regular weekly meeting where you discuss your progress, your lessons and your targets with your mentor. You must make sure you're receiving this time, and if for any reason you're not, you must inform your senior mentor, and then the university tutor, and then myself. I've used the term university tutor several times already. That's because each school has a university tutor linked to it. For example, you may find that Tom Breeze from the music department is your link university tutor. That means if there are any issues with your placement at the school, you contact him as your first point of call after discussing the issue with your mentor and senior mentor. Now, here are the roles and responsibilities for the student teacher and also for the senior mentor. So if you just have a look through these, you can see what we're expecting of both yourself and also our senior mentors. Now, we talk about the code of conduct there. Now, the code of conduct is basically a document which you sign that shows that you're aware there are certain things that you should and you shouldn't do as a teacher. Now, you need to think very carefully about your professional reputation. Think about things like Facebook. Are you likely to have pupils who will go searching for you on Facebook? Is there anything there that you wouldn't want someone who's going to interview you to see? So think about how you're representing yourself through things like social media. That's always really important. You can also see here that the senior mentor has a number of roles that they will complete when they're working with you. Okay, here we have the roles of the mentor. Now, this is the person who's going to spend an awful lot of time with you. You'll be in their classroom most of the time. You will be working with other teachers as well, though, but this is the person who completes the paperwork, which tells me and tells the other university tutors how you're progressing. It's really important that you build up a strong relationship and a very professional relationship with these individuals. Now, if we have a look at this slide here, you can see how your teaching timetable builds up. Now, it's important not to overload yourself too much at the beginning, as you'll take longer to plan and prepare your lessons in November than you will do towards the end of the placement in June. Marking work will also take much longer, so make sure you perfect your work with your current classes before taking on more. So if we look here, you can see you'll spend some time team teaching, so working with another member of staff. Now, that could be your mentor, and it may be a situation where your mentor will ask you to introduce the lesson and to complete the plenary at the end of the lesson whilst they take control of the main body. It could be something completely different, but team teaching involves working with another person. Now, this timetable on the screen gives you an idea of a typical timetable. Now, please aim to begin teaching GCSE and A-level classes when your mentor tells you you're ready. If possible, at least spend time observing these classes beforehand as part of your research time on CP1. So if you're unable to teach GCSE or A-level classes on CP1, then please make sure you have some experience of going in and observing so you can see what GCSE and A-level actually entails. Now, the course is very much a partnership between school and university. All mentors will have undertaken training to ensure they're in agreement with what constitutes an aware and a capable student, etc. However, to make sure this doesn't slip at all, we undertake something called purposeful sampling. This means that we sample student work in every school. As you can see from this slide, 1/3 of students are sampled by the university link tutor and senior mentor to ensure they both agree upon what constitutes aware and capable. The same process then happens with senior mentors and mentors. And finally, the university selects standards to sample across the board to make sure you're having as parallel an experience to students in other schools as possible. All student teachers need to devote time to Welsh development in their subject area. This, as its most simple terms, means using Welsh examples or links wherever possible. It also means using Welsh subject-specific language in the classroom. And this needs to be visible on your resources and your lesson plans. When tutors and senior mentors examine your plans from November and May, they should be able to spot a significant increase in the use of Welsh in your plans. Remember, any diagrams should be labelled in both English and Welsh. So, for example, if you're labelling a castle on the board or in a PowerPoint slide, I would expect to see the labels there in English and Welsh. Now, the same thing applies for keywords for the lesson. So when I look at your lesson plans, I'll expect to see them there. Now, as we said earlier, there are a number of different activities you take part in whilst you're on your placement. Independent teaching, team teaching, and as we've said, research and inquiry. So please make sure that you devote plenty of time to your research and inquiry because it will really help you. Now, you will receive a clinical practice document, and within the clinical practice document, you will have an outline of exactly what needs to be done each week. So if we look at this example from last year, it's from this year, the 11th of the 10th, 21. You'll see that you have certain deadlines for this week. Well, the only deadline we have here is that clinical practice actually begins. And you'll see that there are tasks listed underneath that you need to complete during that week, and also tasks for your mentor and senior mentor. So please be quite proactive while using this document. The reminders are here for you, so please, if you do notice that perhaps your mentor has forgotten to do something that's listed there under the tasks for the week, just politely ask whether or not they'll be able to complete those for you. Okay, so have a look at this course map. As you can see, the course has been constructed so you have the opportunity to meet with myself and the other Humanities student teachers each week. Remember that we're all here to support each other. If you're finding a task difficult, please speak to your colleagues, and if you have to resource a lesson on an unfamiliar topic, speak to your student colleagues. The chances are they may have already taught that topic and can guide you through any pitfalls. The same thing applies to both myself, Rian and Paula. We're all very experienced classroom practitioners, so we can help you in this area. Now please remember that this is a very challenging and very rewarding year. There'll be times when you feel that you're not making enough progress or that you're actually regressing, but it's important to be kind to yourself. You're going to be working with young people who can bring a lot of emotional baggage to a lesson. And even the most carefully planned lesson can go wrong. It's something we've all experienced. What's important is to remember that each day you're becoming a more experienced teacher, and the best teachers are those who are always learning and reflecting and refining their work.